The undead parasite was a vicious monster that would grab its victim with sharp rows of teeth and drain their blood. Our heroes made quick work of it, though afterward they were injured and running low on resources and decided to return to Otari. In Otari, they resupped and made conversation with Carmen Rajani the blacksmith as well as Rin Svinchi. They learned that Carmen's father sold their ancestral sword to Mayor Menhammer's father when Carmen was still a child. Rin believed this explained some of Carmen's bitterness towards the mayor. When asked about Carmen's political past in Otari, Rin revealed a surprising truth to the party. Carmen had almost won the mayoral contest a few years before. He had cleaned up his act back then and had been more active in helping the community, gaining him popularity in the small town for a time. Unfortunately, as Rin explained, he did in fact lose by a small margin and ever since had returned to his heavy drinking and gambling. In the last election, Carmen lost to Ozip by a landslide. After restocking their supplies, our heroes made their way back into the dungeon, this time determined to follow the spirit of Otari and find out where it was trying to lead them in the Abomination vaults. Of course, at that time, our heroes could not know that the spirit had no awareness one way or the other if the path it showed them was currently dangerous or not. This led them into the third level of the dungeon and into many more battles. Very soon after starting their exploration of the third level, the party battled a mist monster that had been summoned by Belkar half a millennia before. It filled the room with elemental vapor and attempted to crush them with its tendrils. Perhaps the most surprising thing about the third level of Gauntlet Keep was the revelation that it was, in fact, a huge library. Thousands of tomes and scrolls filled its halls. Though many were rotting and decaying, many writings still survived. Durin practically salivated at the idea of perusing them, and knew Morlebent back in Otari would pay a handsome reward as well. The library was guarded by a group of ghouls known as the Cult of the Canker. They wanted donations for whatever this foul-sounding cause was, but when the party refused, the undead creatures attacked. Though the ghouls were not much of a threat individually to our mighty heroes, as a group they had the potential of paralyzing them with their attacks and swarming them from all sides while helpless. Fortunately, Desna favored her cleric, Anya, and the party. The wicked ghouls were defeated without much damage being sustained at all. After a rest, the party forged deeper into the library, Durin pocketing tomes at every opportunity. They entered a room filled with tools to repair bindings and found a skeleton slumped across a desk. This was the body of a woman named Jarl Caldrian, who had served in this library 500 years before. She had drank arsenic in order to die peacefully at her workstation following her mistress' death at the hands of the Rose Guard. Our heroes did not know as they disturbed the rest that her ghost still lingered and had grown strong in the centuries since. When Shenpo entered the room, Jarl was able to fully possess his body and turn the dangerous monk against his friends. The party felt they had no choice but to defend themselves from their ally, resulting in heavy injuries being sustained and Anya's shield being shattered by the monk. When they were finally able to expel the ghost from their friend, her undead spirit breathed a cone of toxic vapors that further harmed them. Eventually, the soul of Jarl was laid to rest and the party was able to continue. Soon after, our heroes found an elaborate and well-lit reading room. Sitting in a chair was a glowing fey creature reading a macabre book on torture and laughing heartily at its contents. When the party pressed the creature for information, it attacked, summoning vicious tooth fairies and a gremlin spellcaster called a Nub Glub to its aid. The fey was known as a Loka in the light, and though it was a luminescent creature, it was quite evil and vicious. It blinded Bublin to keep the deadly gunslinger from being able to shoot it down, but the rest of the party was able to extinguish its evil light soon after. Though 2 difficult battles had been won, our heroes would be turned away by the next. A horrifying wood golem with the ability to shoot great splinters at our heroes all at once would prove too much damage for them to deal with. They decided to once again strategically exit the dungeon and rest. That night, in their room under the fishery, Shenpo served everyone noodles and encouraged them all to not be discouraged. None of them had been slain and thus could continue on another day. Anya agreed, noting that Desna's favor had fallen upon them, though defeat was never easy to accept. Durin confessed he felt a great weight upon his shoulders. Being the only remaining party member from the first group of heroes our tale began with, Boblin gave him a reassuring wink and promised to protect him. Since to Boblin, Durin was an eternal champion that fate had assigned to the goblin for such service. Thus it was with great horror that the following morning Boblin awoke to find a curved dagger driven deep into Durin's chest.